Hello everyone, I welcome you all to Civil's Mentorship. As a part of our ongoing discussions on World History PYQs, in today's session, we will be discussing two questions. First one is, the French Revolution has an enduring relevance to the contemporary world? Explain. So this is the latest 2025 year question only. And the second question that we will be discussing is this one, a 12.5 marks question from 2015. What was the question? Now, why did the Industrial Revolution first occur in England? Discuss the quality of life of the people there during the industrialization. And the third part of the question is, how does it compare with that in India at present? So these are the two questions that we will be discussing in our today's session. Now let's start with the first question. So what was our first question? The first question is this one, that the French Revolution has a the French Revolution has what? The French Revolution has an enduring relevance to the contemporary world. Explain. So this is a 15-mark question from 2025. And if you go through the question, you will understand that the key to this question is not just knowing what the French Revolution was, but understanding why it still matters today. So let's break this down step by step, the way you should approach it in your exam. So first things first, as I mentioned in our previous sessions as well, that we need to read the question twice. So first things first, we will be reading the question twice. Now, as part of the step 2, let us identify the keywords which is there in the question. So what are the keywords that are given in this question? First keyword is explain. Second keyword is French Revolution. Third keyword is enduring relevance. And the fourth one is contemporary world. So these are the four keywords which is there in the question. Now let's see what each of these keywords means, because identifying the keywords is very much important in order to write a good answer. So first keyword was explain. So what does this means? This means that you need to show how and why the French Revolution still matters. So in this particular question, we no need to just describe what happened in 1789, but we need to show how and why it still matters in our present day as well. Now next, the next keyword is French Revolution. So in this particular keyword, what does this means? Why they are means from this particular keyword what we can refer to? Yes, the 1789 revolution ended what? Ended monarchy in France and brought new ideas like liberty, equality and fraternity. So this is all about this particular keyword. Now let's move on to the third keyword. What is the third keyword? Enduring relevance. What does this means? Something that still matters or continues to influence us even today. So that means the things that have happened during that time, the significance of it or the influence of it still matters to us today as well. And the last and final keyword is contemporary world. What does this means? It means the modern world we live in, like with democratic governments, equality and rights, all these things. So this particular question is not asking about what the French Revolution was, but why its ideas are still important today. So let me simplify this question for you. So what was my original question? Now original question was that the French Revolution has an enduring relevance to the contemporary world. We need to explain it. So this was the original question. But after going through the keywords, so what we have understood, so let us simplify the question. So what exactly the question is asking over here? So basically the question is asking that what ideas came out of the French Revolution and how do those ideas still shape our modern world today? So this is the crux of this particular question, that they are basically asking us to simplify or to connect how the ideas which were developed during the French Revolution is still shaping our modern days also. So this is the crux of the question. But before we write anything, let's recall the key ideas of French Revolution. So what were the key ideas of French Revolution? Now the key ideas of French Revolution were liberty, equality, fraternity, secularism, nationalism and people's sovereignty. So these were the key ideas of the French Revolution. And now you need to connect these ideas to the modern world. So how can we connect those ideas to the modern world? Say for example, that the idea of democracy, like we are talking about democratic countries, okay, democracy. So the idea of democracy came from people's power in France. Similarly, the idea of equality before law is now in every constitution. So most of the constitutions have taken this idea of equality before law, has been inspired from French Revolution itself. Next, we are talking about human rights and citizenship that has their roots in this particular revolution itself. And finally, even the modern movements for justice and freedom reflect these values itself. So this is how we can connect the ideas that was developed during French Revolution with our modern day. So this is how you need to connect and write it in your answer. So our job is to show these connections clearly in our answer. That's it. And nothing else. Now, I hope you understood that what the question is basically asking for and how you can decode this particular question. Now, let me give you some ways how you can write your introduction. Now, you can pick the style that suits you best. So, first of all, how we can write our introduction? It's simple, straight to the point. So, that is the straight to the point. What answer we can write? Like we can say that the French Revolution of 1789 was a turning point in world history. Its ideas of liberty, equality and fraternity changed not just France but influenced the entire modern world. These values continue to guide democratic and social systems even today. So you are directly addressing the question itself in your introduction only. So this is just you are directly addressing the question. So this is also one way how you can introduce your question, how you can introduce your answer. Now the second option is setting the background. Now what does this means? Like you are not directly putting your introduction directly based on the question. You are just setting the context of it. Like over here we can mention like that before 1789 Europe was ruled by kings and based on privilege and inequality. The French Revolution broke this old order and introduced ideas of freedom, equality and people's power. These ideas are still relevant in today's world of democracy and human rights. So I hope you got how you are connecting the French Revolution with today's lives as well. Over here, the last line only, if you see, it's mentioned that these ideas are still relevant in today's world of democracy and human rights. So that means you are directly addressing the question, but on the initial part, you were setting up the background. The third way of introducing this particular question is idea based, because from French Revolution we are getting all the ideals and all. So we can also introduce our answer in this way, like the ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity that form the core of modern democracy were first expressed during the French Revolution. Even after more than 2 centuries, these principles remain central to how societies function today. So you are introducing your answer based on the ideals that was developed as part of French Revolution. Now another way of introducing your answer is you are connecting the past to the present, because ultimately in your answer you need to show that only. So how you can introduce it? The French Revolution may have taken place more than 200 years ago, but its message still lives on. Every time we talk about democracy, equality before law, or human rights, we are carrying forward the same ideals that inspired the French Revolution. So, this is another way of introducing your answer. And another way of introducing it is value based. See, now this value based is almost similar to idea based only, because in both the cases you are introducing your answer based on the values or ideals like liberty, equality and fraternity. So how you can introduce your answer for this type? Now you can simply write that the French Revolution gave birth to values like liberty, equality and fraternity, the foundation of the modern world. These ideas continue to shape modern societies, governments, and global institutions, showing how lasting its influence has been. So, these are few of the ways how based on which you can introduce your answer. And the final way is a balanced approach. So, how you can introduce your answer in a balanced form? Like you can simply write like this, that the French Revolution was not just an event in France, but a movement that changed human thinking. It replaced monarchy with the idea that people are the real source of power, an idea that still defines modern democracy today. So this is also another way how you can introduce your answer. So I hope you understood what are the different ways in which you can introduce your answer for this particular question. So you saw, right, that how each introduction sets the stage differently, because these are the various types or ways of introduction. So in one case you are directly addressing the question, in another case you were setting up the background. So these are the different ways, and different ways will be having a different tone of introduction. So you can choose any one of them that feels natural to you and reflects your writing style. So this was all about the introduction part. Now comes the main body. So I am going to structure this in multiple dimensions. So obviously, as we have discussed previously also, in our main body, we should write the answer in multiple dimensions. Not in only one or two dimensions, but we need to focus on multiple dimensions so that our answer will become crisp and comprehensive. So let me walk you through the table. So what are the dimensions that I have mentioned it over here? Now I have mentioned about 6 to 7 dimensions. Let's go one by one. First is political ideas. So this is one dimension. So what exactly happened in the French Revolution? Now power shifted from kings to people, introduced popular sovereignty and a rule of law. So these were the things that have happened during French Revolution. Now, how can we connect it to the contemporary world? Say, for example, we can connect it with the modern democracies, like modern democracies are based on people's power and constitutional government. So, this is one dimension, that the political ideas. Next dimension is social change. So, what exactly happened during French Revolution? Now, it ended the privilege based on birth. It promoted equality before law and social mobility. Now again, how can we connect it to today's world? Like modern societies believes in equality, justice and welfare policies for all citizens. So these were all derived from French Revolution itself. Third dimension is ideological values. Like what were the ideals that were developed during French Revolution? Now liberty, equality and fraternity became the core ideals. Now see, in our preamble also it is mentioned. So these same ideals guide democratic constitutions, political rights and human rights today. So that means this is how you can showcase your answer, or how you can connect the ideals that was developed in French Revolution to today's world. Next part is secularism. So in secularism also, how you can connect? Like church lost control over state affairs, religion separated from governance. So these were the things that have happened during French Revolution. Now, how you can connect it with today's world? Like secularism and freedom of belief are central to most modern constitutions. Similarly, human rights. What exactly happened? Now, it introduced the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen. How can we connect it to today's world? Like the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights carries the same spirit. So that means you are connecting it with the ideals that was developed during French Revolution. Next dimension is nationalism. Like what exactly happened over there? They created unity among citizens based on shared rights and duties. So how you can connect it to today's world? The modern nation states are built on civic nationalism and citizen participation. And finally, final dimension is global impact. So what exactly happened over there during French Revolution? Now it inspired revolutions and reform movements across Europe and the world. Now how you can connect it with today's scenario? The ideas of democracy and equality became global, like it influences Asia, Africa and Latin America. So these were the dimensions, and exactly what were the things that have happened for these particular dimensions during French revolutions, and how you can connect it to today's contemporary world. So these are the dimensions are there. Say for example, for if you take political ideas, how you can present your answer in the political ideas format if you for that particular dimension. You can simply write like this, that the French Revolution introduced the idea that sovereignty lies with the people, not with the kings or divine rulers. It gave rise to modern democratic values like representative government and the rule of law. The same principles form the base of today's constitutional democracies across the world. So, this is one way of writing, of presenting your answer. So I hope you understood that how you can write your answer or write the body part of your answer in multiple dimensions. Now over here I have given I think 6 to 7 dimensions. You don't need to write all these 7 dimensions in the exam. So you can pick 4 to 5 strong ones based on time and obviously word limit. But this is the structure that I wanted to show you so that it will help you think comprehensively. So I hope you understood about this body part, how you can think about this particular question. Now coming to concluding your answer. So over here also, let us see that what are the different ways how we can conclude our answer. So first is the straightforward way, okay? How you can conclude? Simple. Like the French Revolution changed how people saw power and rights. The same ideas of liberty, equality and fraternity are part of every democracy today. That is why its message still matters in the modern world. So this is just a straightforward directly addressing your question. Now next is value based, because this particular question is all about the values. So what does means how you can write it in this format? Like you can simply write that the values born during the French Revolution are now global values. Every nation talks about equality, justice and freedom, the same things people in France fought for in 1789. That makes the revolution timeless. So you understood, right, that how you can conclude your answer. Just you are summarizing the entire thing in a positive manner. Third way is you are connecting past to present. How you can connect it? Like you can write it in this way, that even today, movements for democracy and human rights follow the same ideals that began with the French Revolution. The fight for liberty and equality never really ends, which is why this revolution is still relevant. Because if you remember, the question was how the French Revolution is still significant. So this is how you are concluding your answer, that these are all the reasons because of which the French Revolution is still so much significant. Now, another way of concluding your answer is an analytical approach. How? Now, the French Revolution didn't just change France, it changed human thinking. It showed that people can question authority and build a fair system. These ideas form the base of today's political and social life. Now, this was slightly unorthodox type of completing your answer. Now, and one of the most common way of concluding your answer is a forward-looking approach. How you can complete? Say, for example, you can write it like this, that the world still faces inequality and injustice, but the ideas of liberty and equality keep inspiring change. The French Revolution reminds us that progress is possible when people stand for their rights. So these are all the different ways how you can conclude your answer. So you can pick any one of them that complements your introduction, because that is very much important. Your introduction and conclusion should complement with one another. And most important thing, you should write the conclusion in such a way that it will be as means it will give your answer a strong finish. So I hope you understood that what was the question about and how you can decode this particular question. So that's how you approach this particular question. So if I need to summarize this one, what we have understood from this particular question, that it's not about this question, but it's all about most of the questions only. So what are the understandings, or if I need to summarize it, understand what the question is really asking. Like for over here, it was not asking about French Revolution. It was basically asking about the significance of French Revolution, which is still existing in our contemporary world today as well. So that is why understanding of the question is very much important. Second is recall the key ideas and connect them to today. Like how we did, right? In the body part also, in most of the things, we were recalling the ideals, or we were recalling the things that have happened during French Revolution and how those things we can connect it to modern world. So that's how we were connecting with one another. And structure your answer in clear dimensions, because that is very much important. In order to fetch good marks, structuring your answer in a good dimension wise, that's very much important. And finally, as I mentioned, write a strong introduction and a conclusion. So whatever I have said over here, this does not works for this question only, but it will be working for any question that where it is asking about certain relevance or significance. So I hope you understood about this particular question. Now let's move on to the next question. So what was the next question? So next question is all about this, that it's a 12.5 marks question that came in 2015. What was the question? Now, why did the Industrial Revolution first occur in England? Second is, discuss the quality of life of the people there during the industrialization. And third is, how does it compare with that in India at present? So if you have noticed that over here we have total 3 parts, or the question has 3 parts. This is one part. What was the first, means what is the first part of the question? The why did the Industrial Revolution first occur in England? So this is our first part. Now what is the next part of the question? Now discuss the quality of life of the people there during the industrialization. And the final part is, how does it compare with that in India at present? So we need to address all these 3 parts of the question. So as a primary step, what we need to do is that we need to read the question twice. Now why I am repeating this same thing again and again? It's because reading the question and understanding the question is very much important if you want to write a good answer. Because if you don't interpret the question correctly, then your answer will not be addressing the demand of the question. And in that case, you will not get good marks. So that's why you read the question twice. First, that is your important task to understand the question. So over here also, you have read the question. So now let's move on to the next part. So let us break this question down. So as we have discussed that this particular question has three parts. What are those three parts? The first part is the question is asking about the causes, that is the reasons, like why did the industrial revolution start first in England only? It could have started in other countries, no, but why exactly it started in England? That means it is asking for the causes or the reasons. Next is life during industrialization. So when industrialization was happening in England, what was the quality of life of the people over there during the industrialization? So that is the second part of the question. And what is the third part? Now, they are asking to compare with present day India. That how is that situation different from today's India? So that's how we need to address all the three parts of the question. So over here, you cannot write just about the causes. So you need to cover all these three parts to score well. Now let's start with the first part. Why England? So why exactly England? Now think of it like a recipe. England had all the right ingredients at the right time. Now what does this means? Like, first of all, the natural resources. England had plenty of coal and iron, okay, which is required, like these are the backbone of steam power and machinery. So that's why this England has an advantage regarding the natural resources. Second is agricultural growth. Why so? Now new farming methods produced more food, which meant what? Now extra workers were available to move to factories. So this is another cause behind the industrial revolution. Now what is third cause? Now money and trade. Now England earned huge profits from colonies and sea trade. Now these money they have invested in industries. And fourthly is stable government. So as we know that if it's a stable government, so investment will obviously come. So it was a stable government, there were no internal wars, the government protected property rights and patents, which encouraged entrepreneurs. And most important thing, innovations, new innovations. So during that time, England saw groundbreaking inventions like the steam engine, spinning jenny, power loom. So these innovations or these inventions boosted production massively. So these were the five factors which worked together. So that's why England became the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. So now with this we have addressed the first part of the question. Now let's move on to the next part of the question, like what was the life of the people during that time over there? So what was the life of the people? Now here's the thing. England became rich, but common people suffered a lot too. So obviously England has become rich, but the common people were suffering. Now let us discuss both the sides of industrial revolution, like the good side of industrialization and the negative sides. So what were the good sides? Now more factories were there, which meant more jobs. Cities grew, which meant new opportunities, that will bring new opportunities. And the third is that a new middle class emerged, who all became wealthier. So these were the good sides of industrialization. Now coming to the negative impact of industrialization. Since there were more factories, more jobs, more production, so that's why workers were working for 14 to 16 hours a day. Now since there was more production, more employees are required. So that's why children were working in factories. Now, if you know that industrial area, so if our industry is growing, so that means the nearby environment, it will not be healthier environment. So, dirty slums, diseases, no safety. So, all these things were the negative impact of industrialization. So diseases were spreading quickly, all those things were happening. Say for example, like Manchester became famous for factories, but also for smoke, dirt and poverty. So if you know, means we already knew, right, that every side has a positive side. Everything or every discoveries or every means in every way there are two sides, or there are two sides of a coin, right? Bad side and the good side. So the good side is of industrialization was that profits, factories were becoming, they are, the cities were growing, the more factories, more profits, all those were happening. But at the other end, these were the negative impacts. So that's why industrial revolution is often called a blessing and a curse together. Like how, though England's economy grew, but the people paid a heavy price. So that's why uh, industrial revolution is called a blessing and as well as a curse together. So in this way, we have addressed the second part of the question. Now coming to the third part. Third part of the question was what? Now it is asking to compare present day India with England of during that time. So now let me give you a side by side comparison. Now, what was the situation in England over there? Now, no laws to protect workers. But in India, we have labor laws like that. Secondly, in England at that time, child labor was common. But in India, child labor is banned. Third part is pollution and slums were there. So in India, it is still there, but government is acting on it. Fourthly, there were no welfare schemes for the people of England. But in India, we have schemes like Manrega, PM Awas, Ayushman Bharat. So these were the things that was, or in this way you can compare. See, obviously you need to compare, means you will be writing UPSC exam, right? Which is, so since over there, you need to show all the positive things. So that's how you need to write your answer. So if I need to summarize the entire story, we can say that England had the right mix. Like they have coal, money, peace and invention, which led to the Industrial Revolution. It made England rich but people poor. India, if I need to compare it with India, India now wants growth without that misery. So this is the comparison, or this is how if we can summarize the entire question. So I hope you have understood the entire question and how we have decoded it, how you need to think about this particular question. So this is how you need to think about this question. Now let's talk about how you can start your answer. So similar to the previous question, I will be showing you few different ways of introducing your answer. You can pick any one of them that suits your writing. First is the direct introduction. Direct introduction means you are directly addressing the question. So how it is? The Industrial Revolution began in England in the late 18th century because favorable resources like capital, stable government, and the spirit of innovation came together there. While it transformed England's economy, it also brought deep social changes that contrast with India's regulated industrial growth today. So there were three parts of the question and you are addressing in the introduction all those three parts. So this is the direct part. And next is, as we have discussed in our previous questions as well, the contextual or the background introduction, like you are giving a background of the context. How you can write it? Like the late 18th century marked a major shift in human history as machines replaced manual labor and factory production began. England became the pioneer of this transformation due to its rich resources, global trade networks, and stable institutions. So, this is another way how you can introduce your answer. Now, the third way is like analytical, like cause and effect. How you can introduce it? Like you can write simply that England became the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution because it uniquely combined all the prerequisites for rapid industrial growth, like abundant coal, capital, legal stability, and innovation. Now, these revolution not only modernized production but also created severe social strains. Now you have understood, or now you are seeing, right, that in all the introductions, the writing style is different, but it is addressing the demand of the question only. So, in these are the various ways how you can introduce your answer. The next way is comparative or modern link introduction, like you are linking it with the modern day. How you can do that? The Industrial Revolution in 18th century England generated immense economic power but also social misery. Modern India, still pursuing industrialization, aims to achieve similar growth without repeating those human costs. So, this was another way how you can introduce the question. Last is the thematic or quotation style. In GS answers also, it is often being said that you need to use quotations and all in your essay paper or in optional paper. But in GS answers, like GS paper 1 also, you can use quotations. That's absolutely okay. But how you can use it? Like in this particular question, you can use quotation like, the factory system turned Britain's wheels of wealth but crushed the hands that made them. So, this is a beautiful quotation based on which you can start your answer. England's Industrial Revolution brought progress with pain, a lesson that guides India's more inclusive industrial path today. So, this is all about this particular, the last type of introduction is a philosophical type of introduction which you can use it. That's no harm in using this type of introductions as well. So, you can choose the style that feels natural to you and matches the tone that you want to set, because as we all know that introduction is nothing but setting the tone. So, that's how you can introduce your answer. Now comes the main body. Now, since this is a three-part question, your body must clearly address all the three parts. Like, your body should address that why England first. Your body should address that what was the quality of life of people during that time. And your body should address also how it can be compared with India, present day India. Let's start. First, one style of writing the body part is you are writing it in a point-wise manner with subheadings, because that is more important, giving subheadings and all, because that will be much more presentable. How you can write? The same thing we are writing, that why England, the natural resources, agriculture revolution, capital and trade, stable politics, innovation. And coming to quality of life, we are using the same thing, like industrial towns grew rapidly but became overcrowded, long working hours, child labor was common, poor sanitation and health conditions, frequent diseases. A new middle class emerged, but workers faced misery. And now how you can compare it with present day India? Like what were the points that we had discussed previously? Like in England, the factories were unregulated, but India we have labor laws. In England, there was no welfare system, but in India we have a welfare schemes like Manrega, PM Awas Yojana. In England, child labor was widespread, but in India it is banned. In England, there was high pollution, but in India we have laws and all, though we have certain challenges, but government is reacting to those challenges. So this is one way how you can write the body part of your answer. Now next is you can write it in paragraph form as well. Say for example, all the three parts you are addressing it in a same paragraph only. How you can do that? In this way. See, this is the first part, addressing the first part of your question. Like, England led the Industrial Revolution because all the right conditions came together: rich coal and iron resources, surplus labor from farms, and capital from colonial trade. Political stability, a strong banking system, and a culture of innovation encouraged inventions like the steam engine. So, this is also one way how you can write the body part. Now, in the second part, you are writing the second part of the answer. And in the third part, you are writing the third part of the answer. So this is also another way how you can write your answer. But I will not suggest this way, because if you are writing it in a, because this might not be much presentable manner. Now the third part is multi-dimensional style. This is the most important part. You are writing your answer in in multi-dimensional manner. And the fourth is you are just writing it in a contrasting tabular form. Like the first part you have given addressed up both the parts, the first and the second part. How you have addressed it? Like England's revolution started due to resource abundance, innovation and political stability, but it created what? Deep inequalities. India's industrial growth tries to learn from that experience by combining technology with social welfare. So this is another way how you can write the body part of your answer. Now next is the analytical part. Same thing. In analytical part also you are writing it under different headings. One heading is pause, that why England first. Next heading is the effect. And the third is the learnings that India can take today. So these are all the different scenarios how you can write the body part of your answer. So you can pick any one structure that you are most comfortable with. The important or the key is to cover all the three parts clearly. That's it and nothing else. So we are done with the introduction part. We are done with the body part. Now let's wrap it up. So here are the 5 ways how we can conclude your answer. So what does exactly conclusion means? Now conclusion is nothing but the summary plus insight or hope or message, that is forward looking. So over here also similarly we can use those same methods like how we have discussed it previously, that we are directly summarizing the question itself. How we can do that? Like in a direct conclusion, England's unique mix of resources, capital and innovation made it the cradle of the Industrial Revolution. Though it brought prosperity, it also deepened inequality, social inequalities. And modern India aims to achieve similar industrial progress but with social welfare and inclusive growth. So this means this is the direct one where you are addressing the question directly or you are summarizing it directly. Next is in an analytical manner. How you can write it? Like the Industrial Revolution in England revealed how unchecked industrial growth can widen social gaps. Now, I hope you are getting it that the previous conclusion was direct, but in this particular conclusion, it is slightly analytical in nature. Its experience teaches modern nations like India that economic transformation must go hand in hand with human welfare and environmental care. Now, the third type is comparative or continue based. So it's same only that you are comparing with the present day in scenario. Fourth is the thematic or value based conclusions. Like how you can write it? The Industrial Revolution proved that human ingenuity could transform the world. But it also showed that growth without justice is hollow. India's challenge today is to pursue industrial strength that uplifts, not exploits its people. And finally, this is the favorite, UPSC's favorite, forward looking or some visionary conclusion. How you can write it? Now, as India moves towards becoming a global manufacturing hub, lessons from England's Industrial Revolution remind us to balance productivity with dignity of labor, environmental sustainability, and social welfare. Only then can industrialization truly serve as a tool for equitable progress. So these are the different types of ways how you can conclude your answer. But again, I will repeat the same thing. Choose the style or choose your conclusion that will complement your introduction and gives your answer a strong finish. So I hope you understood these two questions. So this particular question, how you know, means now if you are facing any particular question where there are multidimensional, like it has multiple parts in the question. So this is how you can address those type of questions. But again, before ending this video, before ending this particular question, the one thing that we have noticed or what we have observed or what we have learned from here is that decode the question, identify all parts. That's why I am repeatedly saying the same thing, that read the question twice. Second, cover why England, quality of life and India comparison. That is all the three parts. Structure your answer clearly, the same thing which we have discussed previously, and use a strong introduction and conclusion. So this particular approach works for any multi-part questions in UPSC. So I hope you understood both the questions. In tomorrow's next session, I will show you what answer I had written and what was the feedback that I had got for these two questions. So that's all for today. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Civil's Mentorship. Drop your questions if you have in the comment section and I will address those questions in the next video. Until then, keep learning, keep growing. Thank you.